Welcome back to another episode of Becoming a Mental Health Champion, the podcast where we talk about mental health and the intersection of business, leadership, and sports. I'm your host, Reggie Burton, author of the brand new book, Becoming a Mental Health Champion. And today I have a very special guest. Her name is Marley Washenitz, former ASU Sun Devil. Marley, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and I can't wait to get into this.
Awesome. So, Marley, we got to start with the viral video of you making this incredible shot.
Yeah.
Tell our audience about how that went viral on ESPN and what was the reaction you got to that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a crazy moment in my life. I keep telling everybody it's been my fun fact for the rest of my life. To be, etched in history like that has been really meaningful to me. I mean, basketball's been everything to me, and it's something I put into work every single day of my life. But I think when I first initially did it, you could see my reaction in the video. I was shocked as everybody else to see that I even made it. But like I always say, I kind of give all the glory to God with it. He puts people in positions to do things. And I think, he was just raising awareness to my platform and what I really stand for as a whole by, allowing me to be in that position to make that shot and then to spread my name across the country and possibly internationally. But I was definitely surprised. Like I always say, I'm forever grateful for it, but definitely some shock.
So if you're not familiar with her shot, go on YouTube, search it up. Incredible half court shot that she made to that created memories for a lot of people, especially in Tempe, but just all over the world. And what's really interesting is that we met and you told me about that shot and I found that shot, but just the way the YouTube algorithms work, I also found an interview you did with Conkright School of Journalism at Arizona State. And you were talking about your mental health. Tell us a little bit, how did that come about and what was your reason for wanting to put that out there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just a big advocate for mental health and student athletes because, mental health as a whole, but specifically student athletes because I've kind of walked that walk and I'm able to relate to people in the same shoes as me. And so I think it was when I was in high school and COVID had really hit, there was a huge surplus in deaths within student athletes. And a major cause of those deaths was mental health. And you could think of some big names. There was a very known soccer player from Stanford who ended up taking her life, and she was very successful. So it's not that some of these student athletes are struggling with their sport and then they take their life. You have some people who are at the highest of highs and still struggling mentally. And so it's just really hard to be able to relate when other people are in your position. And so for me to be able to be in those shoes and be in those positions, I felt like the need to kind of step up and speak about it. And like I said, it was early on. It was when I was in high school was when I really started to find a passion for it. And I think that's because that's when I started to struggle, and not only just in life, but also within my sport. And it wasn't a performance struggle. It was a mental struggle of certain things you're dealing with or certain dynamics that you struggle with. And just as a whole, sports as a whole is a really interesting dynamic to handle and face, especially when you're put in different roles, such as leadership roles. Maybe you're a bench player, maybe you're a starter, maybe you're a role player. There's just so many different roles. And as a competitor, you always want to be the best that you can be in everything you do. That's in life, that's in, the classroom, on the court, and you're always striving to be the best. And so because I think us athletes have such competitive mindsets, we're always striving for more, no matter how great we are. We could be the best at our sport and we're still going to strive for more. You look at LeBron James, for example. He's done about everything he could do at this point. Yeah, he's still playing and still striving for more. And that's what you love about athletes is the competitiveness, but at the same time, it can also be your biggest weakness.
So let's talk a little bit about that. So let's unpack what you just said, because it's so important to take into consideration all the different pressures and challenges and opportunities as a student athlete.
Totally.
And in today's landscape, that's sports betting. It's also the pressure to perform. There's the pressure, on yourself. And then there's also NIL, name, image, and likeness. Can you speak to some of those things that you witnessed in your time, both at the University of Pittsburgh and also in Tempe at Arizona State?
Yeah, I mean, you think about all the pressures that you already have already as a student athlete. You think about homework, finals, due dates. That's just the student part of it. And then on top of that, you have practices, games, road games. You're missing class now because of road games, or you're missing class because of practice, or whatever it may be. And then to add the extra pressure of NIL on top of it. And now we all know social media is also a huge part of it. And social media is definitely not going anywhere. But as athletes, you love to embrace that for NIL piece of things, and you totally can market and do some amazing things with this, such as
Well,
spreading awareness.
let me ask you real quick about social media.
Yeah.
Do you have like a really just wild story, like an experience of engagement on social media related to mental health?
I would say the Cronkite News thing, I definitely felt really connected to. And like that was a really great piece that she made for me. Shout out Mia at Cronkite. She made a great piece. I would say, honestly, it might have been like in high school. It was like the senior year of high school going into my freshman year of college.
Tell us where you're from.
Oh, sorry. I'm originally from Fairfield, West Virginia. And then I ended up going to Pitt for 3 years, played there on their women's team, and then transferred to Arizona State for my last year. Wish I had more time there, but we're grateful to even have one. So
forks up.
Yes, forks up always. But yeah, so it was going into my freshman year at Pitt. I had met this guy named Kevin who did our ACC production. He produced Saved by the Bell, big name in the production industry. And originally I wanted to get into journalism. So,
and he was featured in the Concrete interview.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he was as well. Yes. And so he's a dear friend of mine. I originally met him because I was getting into the journalism school there, and he obviously was a big connection plug there, and everyone knows him and loves him. I mean, if you meet him, you'll know why. He's just a joy of energy. And so I met with him, and we kind of had talked about this similar interaction of just mental health and how I feel about it. And he helped me produce a documentary about myself surrounding mental health, and it was called Struggling in Silence. And it was basically along the lines of a little bit of my story, along with bringing awareness. So we had some other doctors from Pitt kind of lean in and speak onto their terms about what it means to them as well, and just the factual side of mental health, and how it can develop and how it can affect your brain and thinking and everything else. And so it was really cool to get so many different perspectives on it, but to also just use my own story to let others know that like it's not just you and it's okay. And so my whole like tagline was struggling in silence. Like you don't have to struggle in silence. And as athletes, we're taught that showing any negative or emotion at all is a weakness. You go on the court and I remember growing up, my dad would be like, you can't ever let your competitors see you crying. Like, I'd have a bad game or I'd get upset or something. And I'm so little, I'd just be upset and crying. And he's like, listen, you can't cry. Like you can cry when we get home, you can cry in the car. You can't cry on the court or in front of your competitors because then they know your weakness. They just, they got to you, they won. And so that's just, I think, how athletes have always been told to channel their emotions, is to just kind of like eat it and act like everything's okay. And essentially, yes, you want to kind of give that off, but at the same time, like behind closed doors or around people that you're comfortable with, or heck, even a coach, a friend, even a stranger, as long as you find someone to kind of talk to about certain things, I think it's fine. And I think that's why I wanted to put my name out there as a person that anyone could reach out to ever if they need to, want to, or just want to have someone to listen to them. Like that's the main reason on kind of why I created that documentary with him, was to let people know that like I'm here for you, even if I don't even know
you. Where can people find that documentary online?
Yeah, so it's actually never been produced yet. Sure. We had
coming soon.
We had a Kendrick Lamar soundtrack on it, so we were in the works of getting the production rights, or like the audio rights for that to produce it. Essentially, it was going to go on Netflix when it first came about, but yeah, we're definitely needing to get a little bit more push on it to get it out now.
Everybody keep that yes. out there. What's the name of the documentary?
Struggling in Silence.
Struggling in Silence. So yes. Make sure you keep checking on it so we can make sure we get that pushed up.
Yes.
So in terms of reaction to the interview with Concrete, was there something that was like surprising to you in terms of reaction? Like maybe fan reaction, or just people in general?
I don't think I really had much of a reaction when it came to mental health. I think I had probably, if anything, just like positive reinforcement of, people saying how they love seeing this, they love the support, like maybe people reaching out like, hey, this really helped me, just relating. But I think when I first found out she wanted to even do that interview, I was like, wait, how did you know, wait, this is awesome. And so she was like, yeah, no, like I just obviously did a little dive into your social media and I saw your awareness. And I was like, this is really just kind of heartfelt and like touching to me, because no one's ever really done that, or maybe that deep of a dive to do a story of like that on me. And more of less of the time it's someone reaching out saying, hey, I saw this crazy shot of yours. Let's do an interview. Hey, I saw this great game you had. Let's do an interview. Hey, I saw this game winning still you had. Like, let's do this interview. And it's all like positive things. And so I think for her to find something deeper and more underlying was really special to me. And yeah, grateful for her and that opportunity.
So in journalism, we call those human interest stories. And
Okay.
I feel like one of the better ways for improving mental health is the more we talk about it.
Totally.
And storytelling. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's the reason why I wrote the book, Becoming a Mental Health Champion. How do you think other athletes feel about their mental health? Do you think more athletes would lean into talking more if they were asked?
Yeah, I think so. I think, like I said, mental health is a lot more common than we think. And whether your struggles look the same as somebody else or whether yours look different or maybe more minor or more major, you know, at the end of the day, it's a whole spectrum of what it can look like. And your mental health can be maybe at the middle, maybe at the beginning, maybe at the end of it. So there's so many different layers and levels to mental health that you can kind of dive into or relate to with other people. And I feel like for myself personally, I've kind of been through so many different trials and errors and so many different highs and lows and in between. And so I think that's why I love being someone that people can talk out and relate to, because I've kind of seen it all for the most part. And I think for other athletes, like you said, the more we talk about it, the more we put it out there, I think the more it becomes normalized. Because like I said earlier, it's almost like embarrassing or a sign of weakness if you speak up and say you're struggling.
Stigma.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly the stigma around it. And so I think that's why a lot of athletes don't say anything about it and they just act like everything's okay, or maybe they just, I don't know, complain about it, like, you know. So I think that's probably why there's less people talking about it, is because it's seen as a weakness opposed to a strength. And I think if you're bold enough and brave enough to speak up about your struggles, you're already 10 times stronger than you are if you were to hold it in. And so I obviously to this day still struggle with that. I'm never going to be perfect with it. And it's
Sure.
at the same time, it's a habit you're trying to break. And it's not easy to break habits, but at the same time, you know, if you want a positive outcome, that's what you're gonna have to do. And you might have to take 2 steps back to go 1 forward. And sometimes that's the journey.
Adversity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Overcoming adversity. Yes. So 2-part question to follow up on that. So what's the wildest NIL story that you can share? Maybe it's like in your experience coming over from Pitt to Tempe in Arizona State, or just anything that most people sitting at home watching this would go, wow, that's wild.
Yeah. I don't really know. I feel like honestly in the NIL space, I've not had anything necessarily crazy happen. I feel like a lot of my stuff I felt has come from social media and like my brand and marketing that I've made myself.
Yeah.
I have an agency obviously that I got with, and I think that's probably why it keeps me sane and nothing crazy.
You want to shout out your agency?
Yeah, shout out Limitless. They're a great agency. They definitely help manage everything. I think that's probably why I don't have that many crazy stories. Awesome. Because even through the portal, like when I left Pitt, honestly, I had never made NIL unless it was from my own doing up until this past year. So no like revenue sharing, nothing of that sort. So I had never, you know, been familiar with that landscape. So when I entered the portal and it was like everything at once, I think I was just really overwhelmed, because it was like, not only am I getting looks and opportunities from other schools, but I'm getting offered money, which I've never dealt with it before. And I think that's another reason why I say like kudos to my Limitless, you know, agency, because when I went in the portal, I was like, listen, I don't want to talk money. I don't want to know numbers. I don't want to know anything. Like, I just want to play basketball and have fun with it. And like you mentioned earlier, like that pressure that just got added on top of already trying to find a new school for my last year. And I just wanted to relieve that pressure off of myself. And by doing so, I kind of just gave it to my agency. I said, listen, like, you figure it out. You figure out what my worth is or whatever. And you handle that. I was like, I'm going to pick a school because I love it and I love the staff, not because of a number they throw at me. And so I think in today's world, NIL can definitely be perceived as good and bad, which I totally agree with. Like, I think, you know, coaches and staff and XYZ have been getting paid for numerous amount of years. And I think it's totally due and fair that the athletes also get that same pay. But I think to an extent it's got out of hand from a maybe like greediness standpoint. You know, you have people going to 4 schools in 4 years and
need some guardrails.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just really open right now. And I think as the years progress, they're probably going to eventually get some, you know, handles on, and I hope at least. But yeah, no, and I mean the NIL space for me personally has just been a really fun thing to do because even off of my like viral shot, I was able to make a T-shirt of it, and I made revenue off of that, of course. So just like fun moments like that, I think is really why NIL was created, was to help student athletes like impact and really create and be creative with it. Obviously yes, to make money, but when you have a viral shot like that, you capitalize off of it. Or say you have a following, and there was a company that reached out to me, Bahama Bucks. It's a snow cone company, and we made like my signature snow cone or whatever. And so like just fun stuff like that is what I really enjoy most, because I'm getting to engage with so many other people. I'm meeting new people. I'm reaching new audiences, and I feel like I'm also too like connecting with the community when I do smaller things like that.
Very, very cool. So this one is a little different, the follow-up to the follow-up, which is sports betting.
Oh yeah.
Like, is that something that you were aware of? Is it something that's talked about in the locker room? Or what's your perspective on that?
Yeah, honestly, I was never really that familiar with sports betting until I really got to college. Like, I knew people bet, obviously, in general and on sports, but I didn't realize to the extent of what it was until I got to college. And we have these things called Title IX meetings where our compliance people will come in and talk to us about betting, alcohol, drug abuse, anything you can think of Title IX related. They talk to us about it. And so gambling and betting are definitely prevalent in those meetings. I've had every single year, it's like mandatory for our team. So we have done those since my freshman year up until my senior year. And I think one thing that just like shocked me with the whole betting and sports thing was surprisingly that female sports, specifically women's basketball, was one of the higher sports that were getting betted on that were having more like aggressive behavior. Yeah. So like men or women or whoever would bet on the sport, and then you would say, I don't know, say someone bet on me to score 10 points, I scored 9, then I'm more likely to get a DM like, oh my gosh, you suck and you should never play, like more of those aggressive messages.
Does that create like pressure, or does that create like just this weird feeling for you as an athlete? All right, guys, we're back on the Becoming a Mental Health Champion, the podcast. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty. I think the first podcast, Marley, that's ever been shut down because the phone overheated.
I mean, that's what it's like here in Vegas. I almost said Arizona. So it's like, yeah, this weather is definitely different, but I'm not complaining. You have to shovel sunshine.
No complaints. All smiles here. So we're back. We're going to finish up with Marley. We've been having this great conversation about her career, her journey from West Virginia to University of Pitt basketball to Tempe and Arizona State basketball. And now she's transitioning soon to what's next. So tell us a little bit about what's next for Marley.
Yeah, I mean, really just being present and grateful. I'm huge into gratitude. And so just being grateful for where I am in life, to look back and see everything that I've done, all the people that I've impacted, met, and loved on for the past 4 years has been everything and more to me. So just kind of being where my feet are right now. But for future terms, I'm looking to play professionally overseas, which is really exciting. Somewhere in Europe, of course. I think my agent I signed with is based out of Spain. So anywhere around there, Italy, Greece, Spain, I think he mentioned. So any of those beautiful countries I would love to be a part of. I'm really excited to kind of travel the world and just see different parts of the world that I've never even been to, and really just explore that culture and kind of dive into learning about other cultures, and obviously also the other style of play. They always mention how the European style is very different from the American. So I'm really intrigued to see how that is. And I'm also really interested to see how like preseason is compared to college preseason. I'm curious if we're gonna have conditioning tests or if it's gonna just be practices. So
well, between the Pilates and the gym workouts and the pickup games, I'm sure you'll be prepared for whatever's next. So obviously we want to wish you the best in your journey. Thank you for taking the time talking about your mental health and wellness as well as your career. Tell people where they can find you online.
Yeah, I mean, all my handles are Marley Washenitz. So my Instagram, my Facebook, my Twitter, I believe might be Washenitz. But yeah, just anywhere you can search my name up, I'm sure I can find my way and pop up. And I would love to help anyone that is in need or wants a shoulder to lean on or someone just to listen to. I mean, I will be that rock for you, for whoever may need it. And I love helping people. And, in a world that's so crazy and cruel, you need some kinder people. So don't be afraid to step out and be one of those people.
And that's right. And when you do reach out to her, her eligibility, unfortunately, is done.
Yeah.
So she's not able to play anymore. She's moving on to what's next in her life. But what advice would you give to the next Marley Washenitz coming up?
I think like gratitude. This past year, I really had leaned into that out of all things, which is gratitude. And I think I found that within my faith and just being so grateful for the smallest things, like waking up this morning. I'm so grateful to be surrounded by so many people that love me. I'm so grateful to have a family and friends and everyone around me that loves me. And so I'm blessed to have a healthy working body that allows me to do things and just to be so grateful and kind of be present because you kind of don't realize how good you have things. And so to like really step back and put into your perspective of, it's really easy to lean into and look at all the negatives like, oh, I scraped my arm today. Oh, I wrecked my car. Oh, I did this. Was like, you're alive, you're breathing, you have a healthy body, you have people that love you. And so just really lean into those positive things and it all comes back full circle. And the more positive you can be in life, the more happy I think you'll be. So that's the only thing I would just say is be present, be in the moment, and just be grateful for everything.
Gratitude.
Yes.
That's going to do it for this episode of Becoming a Mental Health Champion, the podcast. You can subscribe at the ABF Resiliency Project YouTube channel or on Spotify.